Hello and welcome to Striding Edge Games and our Quest with the Ringbearer campaign overview. I'm Julian and this is...
I'm Boris, and we are here with the first video of our Quest with the Ringbearer campaign. Quite an epic undertaking, I'd say, so far.
It's pretty substantial so far.
So we thought we'd do a little overview video just to detail how we're going to run the Quest of the Ringbearer campaign. What it is, in case you don't know. It's been out for a little while now, as of recording, a couple of years, I think. And there's been quite a few online and out and about, but we thought we'd let you know what we're doing to make it a bit special, as well as how it works and all that sort of thing. And just a general chat about how we found it going on. So yeah, that's what this video is. If you kind of know everything already, you can skip straight ahead to the first mission, which should be out very soon or at the same time, which will be Farmer Maggot's Crop. So I think, right to start off with, how long have we been planning this?
Really, I think this has probably been something that we've been thinking about since the book Quest of the Ringbearer came out.
Yeah.
Both Boris and I were Lord of the Rings collectors when it first came out in, I believe, 2001?
Something like that. Yeah, the films came out and the nice D'Agostini magazines came out and all the first box set came out.
Yeah, and I remember having that first box set, the Fellowship of the Ring box set, with its rules with goblins, which were orcs, versus elven warriors and Minas Tirith. Or they're possibly even just warriors of men.
They're warriors of men. They're now Numenor, and it's now Last Alliance people.
Yeah.
But at the
Back
time
then,
it was warriors of men, and it was goblins. Weirdly, even though it was the first.
There was also just two factions, good and evil.
Yeah, I mean there still is technically, but there's no sub factions.
But anyway, we'd been out with Lord of the Rings for a while actually.
Yeah, quite heavy into heresy, AT, bit of AI. Mordheim back in the day.
Warhammer Fantasy,
kind of a bit of everything, but I think we were probably mostly into heresy at the time, a few years ago. And we were both eyeing up Middle-earth, which had had a kind of a plethora of releases, looking quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of, I think there was a quiet point where it almost, not that it died a death, but Games Workshop's support was very low for it.
Maybe, yeah.
But the new edition, the new rules,
the
new campaign.
We weren't in it at all when it was like The Hobbit, and then it moved to the movement tray ground battle one rather than
the War of the Ring.
War of the Ring, that's it. So we've kind of got this big gap of knowledge in our heads. It was the original stuff when it came out, and in the first 3 books, it was the green for the Fellowship, red for Two Towers, and blue for the Return of the King.
Yeah.
Had loads of that stuff. I remember in my after school we were playing in I think around mine the Fellowship, the Two Towers, and we had cardboard box. Uruk-hai charging a cardboard box that was Helm's Deep's wall and all that sort of thing. So
and lots of broken Uruk-hai pikes.
Yeah, I think I seem to remember talking to you that we were both really interested, and then this book came out and we thought that's an excellent starting point, because looking at it you can basically start with Farmer Maggot and his hounds and 4 hobbits.
Yeah. And
that's all you really need to collect, and then the terrain.
And it slowly builds up to more and more significant battles.
Yeah.
But it remains focused around the heroes, which is really what the Lord of the Rings is about.
And the story of the Ringbearer.
The story of the Ringbearer, which obviously is what Lord of the Rings is about.
Yeah. So that's roughly 2 years ago, I'd say, we got hooked in, and slowly since then we've been building and building and building. We're kind of trying to get a head of steam behind us, to the point where we've got a lot of the things done. We have how many spreadsheets?
I mean,
between us,
it's how many worksheets are in the spreadsheets.
Yeah, how many worksheets are in the spreadsheets upon spreadsheets upon spreadsheets, tracking all the things we need, all the things we have for the thing. I might show it up on screen just to show the utter nerddom that is our collecting direction, or how we have approached it. But it's been really fun because it's a nice little self-contained project. And then as we were going along, we kind of realised, we've bought 9 mounted and 9 on foot ring race, because you need them quite early on in the campaign. And then, hey, you've got sort of 800, 900 point Legendary Legion army
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
If you painted that, great.
Or conversely, you buy 18 wargs, which no one ever wants that many wargs.
And you've got a bunch of wargs.
But we have a bunch of wargs. We'll never run out of wargs.
Several versions of the Fellowship, if we ever wanted to run the Fellowship legend.
Yeah, but I've got almost all of them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. We've got, orcs and stuff, Uruk-hai, scouts. So, you end up with the basis for a lot of really good armies. So it's been an excellent introduction to Middle-earth for us. So, campaign-wise, we will be running it as effectively the standard Quest of the Ringbearer campaign. If you don't know what that is, quickly, you want to give us an overview of what the campaign is and how it works?
I mean, if you imagine scenarios which loosely match the events of the book/film, sometimes there's a bit of a, Tom Bombadil is in this, who's, brutally cut from the movies. But each of the scenarios represents something that maybe has happened in the film or in the book.
It's a scene in a film or a chapter in a book.
I mean, Farmer Maggots is explicitly not in either, but it's sort of, they get chased off and there is a mention of mushroom thieving.
Yep.
So, that's a prequel, if you like. The Farmer Maggot mission is the prelude to the whole events of the War of the Ring. It's a linked narrative campaign, so from mission to mission there is a bonus, a negative, depending on who wins.
Yeah, so every scenario gives the winner a bonus or the loser a negative in the next campaign. So for example, in Farmer Maggot's Crop, the next mission, it depended, whoever won, it made you start, the hobbits start further or closer away from the hedges, and Gildor came on closer or at the board edge.
Yeah.
So it gives you a slight bonus. And then in the other key element is that stats don't regenerate, which I think is really fun.
Well, no, to be clear, because it is the quest of the Ringbearer and the Ringbearer's companions, their stats don't regenerate.
True. Yes.
The bit players that come on, or the evil side,
Ringwraiths just start stop.
They just get their stuff back if they are repeat villains.
The heroes of the story don't regenerate stats, which I think is actually a really fun mechanic. We've played a few scenarios as tests. We've played through to a few missions in, and it's really good fun because you have that sort of voice in the back of your head. If you're evil, you're like, oh, well, I might not be able to win this mission, but if I can drain Frodo of all of his might,
that can be a tax.
That's a really great. That's setting me up for the next mission. That's a really great bonus for me. Or if you're able to kill someone in a mission, they might come back, but they might come back wounded and they not get to regenerate any stats. So the next mission they're starting on nothing, only one wound.
And potentially, you could actually kill someone.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also, I mean, this is the quest of the Ringbearer. If Frodo dies, and dies for good, most of the scenarios are based on whether Frodo remains or moves off the board,
I think quite a lot.
Or is still standing. But there is a chance that he could die, and if he dies, that's it. It's over.
Campaign's over. So we might. I mean, Farmer Maggot's Crop, you can't. There's no mission number 1. We are starting on that. There's no peril. It's just dog bites and bruised egos.
Yeah.
So there's no chance there. But mission number 2, Ringwraiths come along. Frodo could be stabbed to death in Buckland and never make it out of Buckland. It'd be really sad. I think we'd probably restart the campaign because I would quite like to get a little bit further with mission 2. But if we get to, I don't know, the plateau of Gorgoroth or the plains of Mordor or something, and Frodo genuinely dies,
or
Osgiliath, and the Witch King cuts him down. Maybe that's it. Maybe we'll have to call it there and start again with a fantasy fellowship. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, so that's roughly how the campaign works. You get D3 per hero back, D3 stats back. So if you've spent all your...
this is at the end of a mission.
Sorry, yes, at the end of a mission. D3 stats back per hero. So you can, you roll 3, you can give yourself 1 might, 1 will, 1 fate, and or 1 wound. If you only roll 1, you can only restore 1 of them. If you die, you have to roll on a table. On a 1, you are dead. 2 to 3, I believe, you recover with no recoveries, and a 4 to 6, you recover. And you get to make a recovery roll, so you're fine. It was just a scratch, or you get knocked unconscious. Heroes can, crucially, spend might on it. So if you die, roll a 1, but you had a might point left, you're all right. And if you're good, you get +1. Sorry, if good wins the scenario, you get +1 to the roll. So effectively it means if you are good, a character dies, but you won the mission, they're safe. Lowest they can roll is a 2, and they just don't recover. So that's fine. So
it just means if you are Merrian or Pippin and you've lost and you roll a 1, they've got no might anyway.
They've got no might anyway.
Possibly they could use Boromir's if they're close enough, because that is their special rule. So
I don't know how that
we'll have
work.
to decide about that if that ever comes up.
I think that would be fun. Boromir just shakes them awake and says, "No, you can't
Get
die." Up! That would be cool. But we'll see if we get as far as Boromir. And then one of the other really fun parts, which I'm looking forward to debating, is the Bravest Companion and the Fool of a Took, which is excellent. So every mission, afterwards you assess, talk between yourselves, and you assess who is the bravest companion. So that would be someone who, I don't know, fought off a ring wraith on their own. A little hobbit fights off a ring wraith on his own. So they have to have earned it. And if they are nominated the bravest companion, they earn back D6 might, will, fate wounds. So, even if Boromir is in later and he's burnt all his might, and you roll a 6, because he was the bravest companion, you rolled a 6 on a D6, he's back. He's back to tip top.
And they get bragging rights as well.
Bragging rights, of course. We're going to track this as well. So at certain points, we're going to do probably rest point videos whenever you get to a rest point in the campaign, which we'll mention in a second. And we'll see who has been performing well. But then more excitingly, there is a Fool of a Took, which thematically is just lovely. You want to explain what a Fool of a Took is beyond Peregrine?
Basically, which hero gets you into the most trouble throughout the game. And the Fool of a Took, who is causing you grief as the good side, and is a source of great pleasure for evil. When it comes to regenerating any stats, they get nothing because they are a failure. You
basically get no recovery roll. So if it's Frodo and he's on 1 wound, no fate, burn a few will as well or something, and he was the Fool of a Took because he fell in the river and drowned. Or failed a courage check on a double 1 or something. That's it. He starts the next mission on those same stats, doesn't get to recover at all. And we haven't really decided how we're going to do this. I think the book says you should agree and talk and kind of agree amongst yourselves. So it would be the 2 of us for most of the campaign. We're hoping to get sort of guest players in to play big scenarios where we might need some help, or we might need some just another player, and then maybe we could both play one side, both play good or both play evil. But we haven't quite decided how it's going to work. So, but I think most people probably disagree. Maybe dice roll if it's up in the air about who really is sort of. There were multiple contenders, perhaps.
I mean, we could vote on it, but there's only going to be 2 of us most of the time.
Yeah.
So
we'll see, and we can't put it out to the viewers because they won't have seen it, or they'll be seeing it when we needed the vote, unfortunately. So. We'll see, but we're going to, hopefully it should be obvious. I'm hoping when I'm good there aren't multiple contenders for Fool of a Took, and hopefully there are multiple contenders for the Bravest Companion, but you never know. So that's roughly how the campaign works. There are, putting me on the spot now, 20-something in the Quest of the Ringbearer. We have the Quest of the Ringbearer book. There are, let's have a look. No, that doesn't help me. There are many, the 20-something scenarios in Quest of the Ringbearer, which goes all the way from Farmer Maggot's Crop, which is the hobbits, 4 hobbits leaving the Shire, all the way to last mission is the Crack of Doom, Frodo trying to throw the ring in.
And the Black Gate.
And the Black Gate. It's a sort of joint mission, all the way up to, Frodo trying to throw the ring into the lava. Spoilers if you haven't read the book or
seen the movies.
Or seen the movies after 20 years. But
that's been 20 years, and the book's like something like 1960. So
been a while. I'm afraid probably broad spoiler warnings for the whole thing. In this
yes, in general. I mean, there will be spoilers.
I'm afraid so. So that's how we're basically picking up the Quest of the Ringbearer campaign. We're playing the Fellowship, as we know and love. We're not playing the Fantasy Fellowship, because although that would be fantastic, we're going to stay with it for now. We have decided to do a few tweaks, however.
Yeah, we want to make a few changes.
We won't give away too much, but for example, so we have this old Fellowship of the Ring journey book, which I think is 2005. And there are some scenarios in there that we really loved.
Yeah, and they never made it into the Ringbearer's quest.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair. Some of them are. There's like 3 scenarios before the Hobbits even leave the Shire of Rangers fighting wraiths, which is cool. But I mean, I think if I was going to boil it down to think that it's.
I mean, they're not in the movies or in the books.
No, it's sort of talked about, isn't it?
It's kind of mentioned.
Yeah. But there are a few that didn't make it into Quest of the Ringbearer that we thought were really cool. So we've added them in, sprinkling them in. And we'll address it when we get to it, but the campaign bonuses we're sort of siphoning off and adding it and making sure it all works. So the campaign bonuses for the missions don't
clash too much.
Don't clash, or doesn't make sense. You know, if for example, if you had Aragorn and the Hobbits at Weathertop, and then the next mission was something to do with someone across Middle Earth.
Yeah.
The Aragorn mission wouldn't impact that. It would impact the next mission that they're on, which is Flight to the Ford. So, you know, immediately on in the books and the films, it's the escape to Rivendell.
Unless we play the Athelas gathering mini scenario.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Which would be pretty good.
Who knows, we'll come up with our own stuff.
So to begin, I mean, the scenarios all broadly match the first volume/movie of the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, I would say so.
And the traditional Ringbearer campaign gets to Amon Hen and the breaking of the Fellowship, and then it follows at that point purely Frodo and Sam.
Yeah, it's the Quest of the Ringbearer.
It's the Quest of the Ringbearer. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's called. Right up until the Black Gate opens, when finally you get back, a portion of the Men of the West that stand at the Black Gate.
Yeah.
We're hoping, and we'll see how we do, is to actually bring more of the books and the movies into our scenario.
Yeah, I think for me, my love for Rohan is too strong. If we've got all the way to Amon Hen, you may as well start bringing in, and obviously you have 3 hunters interact with Rohan quite a lot. Merry and Pippin get tied up with some Ents. So
and a certain fellow called Grishnak.
Yeah. So we are hoping, we've sort of picked and chosen at what we think works. Generally, it's Fellowship members that are go off in their separate ways. We've included the missions, and we've added the missions to sort of the mission bonuses carry on. We're not doing all of them because quite a few of them are just, especially when you get to the Gondor at War stage, quite a few missions are none of the Fellowship. It's named heroes, but they're not members of the Fellowship, and they're just fighting somewhere that doesn't really impact. It impacts the wider War of the Ring, but it doesn't impact the Ringbearer and his quest. So we're probably going to drop them. But hold this space. We're recording this.
We'll see how we do.
At the very start of the campaign, we have broad ambition, but we'll see how far our drive can get us. We have, however, produced a lot so far.
Yeah, and I think it's worth actually probably praising Games Workshop and most of the design on the books themselves, but pretty much every single scenario is, whichever factions are involved, you probably have the models if you collect those factions.
Absolutely,
And if you look at it yourself, and if we started this as being like, it'd be a good way to learn Lord of the Rings again. We also discovered it's a good way to collect a good chunk or a good baseline of almost every single army.
Absolutely.
Of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. There's very little you need. I say that to start off with. I suppose the metal ring race are quite expensive.
Yes, and getting nine riders was
the wraiths themselves are quite expensive, but spread out, the model count accessibility compared to some other Games Workshop games. Again, we've come from Heresy, buying resin marines in packs of 5 for 35 quid,
or just having 200 miniatures in like a 2,000 point army.
Yeah, or just it's so expensive. Heresy. You have to it's a whole big tangent, but like coming from Heresy and Specialist games into Middle Earth, it's so accessible, it's so affordable, especially if you're looking at plastic warrior box sets.
Yeah.
And really nicely, we found a lot of the scenarios when you get into big groups of warriors either side. For example, the Moria missions, you never need more warriors than one box. So
And a banner, maybe, sometimes.
Yes, sometimes, but it's usually a box of warriors and the command.
And the split is always what you get in the box.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the part that I think is really, really good, because it's they could have been quite cynical with it, I suppose, or used it as a money earning exercise.
Could have been 28 goblins instead of 24.
Yeah, so you need to buy that second box, so there's 4 more goblins. But it's always, I can't think even.
It's only some of the very last scenarios.
Yeah, when it gets huge. But
Osgiliath, I think it's something like 40 orcs, and the Blackgate is like 60 Morannons.
Sure.
But I mean, that is the final climactic battle.
Absolutely.
So I mean, fair dues there.
It's usually multiples of the box.
Yeah.
And again, it's as you say, it's the split. So in a Moria scenario, you need, I think it's 12 with sword and shield and 12 with spear, which is exactly what comes in the box.
No, it's 8 with bows, 8 with swords, 8 with spears.
Yeah, bows as well. But yeah, so you have that. You have one cave troll and a captain or a banner or something.
No, well, not Moria, but
I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's exactly that. So again, yeah, I think you say it's worth praising GW for their. I want to say restraint. It's probably not the right word, but just.
I think the nod to accessibility for. Quite an epic narrative campaign.
Absolutely. And I won't pretend some parts of this were very expensive in terms of models, but genuinely, once you have collected 10 scenarios worth of models, you have a really good starting base for a lot of armies, which is just fantastic.
And definitely, if you've been collecting Lord of the Rings since 2001, you almost certainly have everything you need to play the entire Ringbearer scenario.
Absolutely.
And also with the Quest of the Ringbearer, I believe, War in Rohan and Gondor, there were new models that came out for those. The straight Ringbearer scenario, you don't need anything that was new, other than...
Harry Goatleaf and Barlam Butterbur and Bill the Pony. The most important member of the Fellowship.
The most vital characters in all of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's pretty low on new models needing that you have to have, which is great.
In terms of accessibility, though, one thing that has been problematic for us, and it has been probably the biggest check on our efforts so far, is the amount of variety in terrain that is required.
Absolutely. I think that's probably a downside for us, because we've come to Middle Earth from, as you say, like heresy, sci-fi stuff.
If we needed Gothic ruins and pipes,
or Zone Mortalis terrain,
we'd probably be all right.
But absolutely sorted. But it would.
Turns out green fields and woodlands isn't really 40k enough.
Not a lot of that in 30k or 40k,
or at least not modern 40k.
No, which it's a bit sad, but it's been really refreshing. I think I was saying to you quite early on, it's been really refreshing refreshing and challenging going from sea of power armor to painting flesh, cloaks. Like leather, fabrics, mud, grass, just things I really wasn't very good at to start with, and I think we've got quite a lot better as we've gone along. It's been really refreshing, but yeah, I think the sheer amount of hobby we've done, I think our biggest constraint now is probably space.
Ideally, obviously, we would love to make unique boards for. Each section of the scenario, and where feasible we have done, or where necessary in the case of the river that you see before you.
Mugs resting on it. So I think one of the first things we actually did was we repurposed an old Realm of Battle board, didn't we?
Yep.
In your garden in December, freezing temperatures. So we've been down the road of figuring out how flocking works. We've been doing the foam flocking and sealing to make them kind of durable and tough. Doing custom boards, like this river board. So we kind of cut out and built a river and resin poured and made it reversible. So there's a ferry crossing in the middle here, but if you flip it around, there's a ford for something. There might be some use for a ford later on in the campaign and a ferry.
Yeah, we just need the white watery horses. And
the Hobbit Hole, which I think is probably one of our best bits of terrain, which has been fantastic. So far, yeah, very good point. The amount of foliage and stuff, it's just been so lovely making tiny, cute things, I suppose. My wife makes fun of me that, effectively we're now I'm doing tiny kind of doll's house furniture, as she calls. There's little tiny miniature wood chopping blocks and all that sort of thing, tiny sacks. I think you built this kennel a while ago. We did some barrels, fences, a field, some barrows, which also come in later, some statues, some lake townhouses that have been repurposed into brie houses. There's a whole bunch more off camera that is not applicable just yet. But yeah, it's been a really fun, if not challenging, long old process. As you say, it's been probably over a year and a half, coming on 2 years of us figuring out how some of this stuff
planning
works.
and thinking.
Yeah. What would you say is your most fun, most rewarding, most challenging piece you've worked on so far?
Oh, I think I did enjoy. I mean, the Hobbit hole here is the actual Forge World Hobbit hole set.
Yep.
We've got a second one that we need to probably make into another Hobbit hole
at some point.
But this was actually quite fun working with. I mean, for those who aren't familiar with the set, it's really just this piece at the front here, 2 chimneys and 2 window pieces.
Yep.
And then you make yourself a hill and you dig yourself into that hill.
Dig yourself a little Hobbit hole.
So, that was quite fun working that out, cutting that space.
Yeah, we've learned how to work with foam as well, XPS foam, which this is made out of mostly, which we hadn't really used before. Now we're getting familiar-ish with it. Lots of kind of foam carving, that sort of thing. I think for me, possibly the ferry, because it's just really fun. But I think in terms of the most work, this riverboard and the resin pour, learning to work with resin and pour that, colour it, tint it, water effects, that kind of thing was quite stressful. But good fun. A lot of my kitchen table has been taken up for weeks at end, waiting for stuff to dry. So again, thank you to my long-suffering wife for putting up with that. Things like just fields, figuring out how best to do those, but not cheaply, not low effort, but quickly. Not spend, you could probably spend 2 weeks making a really intricate field, but realistically we need them for 2 scenarios, and then they're done. 1 or 2 scenarios.
Yeah, I'm not sure they come up again, really.
I'm not sure we're going to use them again once Farm Maggot's done, and maybe the second scenario, whilst we're still in the Shire, basically. Maybe when we get to Rohan, eventually, but maybe the crops look different in Rohan, who knows?
I mean, I don't think you really see any in Rohan.
Yeah, Theoden does say that crops can be resown, so they presumably have crops of some sort, but who knows? Some sort of special Rohan crops. I'm going to guess wheat or something.
Grow them on horses, maybe.
Just growing horses. So yeah, I think we could probably, it's probably the thing that's taken up most of our time and effort for the past couple of years, or at least the last 6 months. We've been properly churning out terrain and boards and that sort of thing. So we could probably go on about it for ages. We won't, to keep this video a reasonably sensible length. But if you did want to find out, please just comment or just comment below or tag us or something and say if there is something that you like the look of. We'll be doing a lot of overview shots. We could do some how-tos, how we've done it. We're not pretending we're experts in anything, but there's a few bits that I think we're probably quite proud of.
Yep.
So if there's anything you guys would like to know, let us know, and we could possibly do a little video in the future about how we designed this sort of thing. So hobby, again, we'll cut ourselves off, otherwise that could go on for ages. In terms of the structure of the campaign, how are we playing it, Jules? So there's obviously a good and an evil player
naturally, yeah.
Every scenario, apart from there's a couple where there's no evil side technically, but there's still an evil player, there's still an adversary player. So roughly how are we going to do this?
Well, I think we decided quite early on that we both sort of empathise / enjoy both sides of the coin, of the good and the evil.
Yeah.
So we came up with the idea initially of just switching each mission.
Yes.
But we thought that then, you kind of miss out on some of the campaign effects because, things like preserving resources and stuff. You know, if I'm the good player one turn, I'm going to be like, right, I need to get through this mission. I'll spend everything. I don't care about the next mission because I'll be evil then.
I think we're both quite self-disciplined in terms of playing narratively versus competitively, but they have a bleed through that you can't help in the back of your head subconsciously. I would say
your lizard brain.
Yeah, I think if we were swapped every mission, for example, if I was evil, I might not subconsciously try and hammer the good side as much as I could, because I know, especially if the next mission was quite a tough one, I don't want to give myself a really rough time. So instead we've come up with a vague solution that we probably, massive asterisks, might change and switch no matter what, but roughly to start with, our plan is...
I mean, despite when, as we say, we might have a couple of guest stars come on and take control of sort of certain sections, but we're thinking certainly for the beginning scenarios, we're going to switch after each rest point. Again, I mean, in the Ringbearer scenario, we've talked about the campaign and the resources that return at the end of each mission. What is also in the campaign is that there are set points where the Fellowship gets to rest and take a breath. And at that point, all of their resources are refunded and they go back to their starting stats.
There's no rolls. They just all regenerate back up to full starting stats, so because they've had a nice long rest. So, for example, Farmer Maggot's Crop is the first mission. Then there are Shortcuts, Make Long Delays, and Buckleberry Ferry. Those three are linked. Well, I think they're all linked, but those three are linked in terms of stat progression. Then we get to Crick Hollow as a rest point, and at that point, the hobbits regenerate all their stats. They're all absolutely fine. So they finish Buckleberry Ferry on their last legs near Death's Door. They're fine. Rest point regenerate, and then we go on to further missions. And then, for example, there's another rest point after the next 2 or 3 missions. There's another one at Rivendell. The places you would expect in the movies and books. They do start getting further and further apart. So I think around the Moria leg of the journey,
Moria will be quite taxing.
There's 8 or 9 off the top of my head missions before you get another rest point, so that could really start grinding you down. And I think once Frodo and Sam are on their own, I think Ithilien might be their last rest point, and then there's no resting until the end of the campaign. That's it, other than the regenerating between missions or rolling to regenerate.
Potentially, I mean,
something along those lines.
Frodo has a nap at Kirithungol.
He does.
But,
I don't know if it was restful.
No.
Yeah, being poisoned doesn't...
Waking up without your clothes.
Yeah, I don't find that very restful, if it's unplanned at least. So yes, that's the plan. We are going to swap every rest point. So when you get to the end, you're on mission 3 before the rest point. Doesn't matter if you hammer the Fellowship. If they survive, we switch. So that's our answer. We both wanted to play both good and evil. I wouldn't mind playing one or the other, but if we got to say, we keep saying, but Moria, and you were the evil player for the entire campaign, I would feel a little bit sad that I didn't get to play, say, the Balrog or a Cave Troll.
Screeching goblins.
Exactly. Whereas, if someone played good the entire campaign, there's something to be said for maybe you fall into the pattern of it. Don't know. Maybe it's a silly idea, but we think it will probably work for us in our campaign system. Massive asterisks that maybe will
change our
minds. And
completely change it.
This will be invalid. And we hope to have some guest stars come on to help us moderate or manage the bigger battles.
Grander set pieces.
Yeah, and maybe both of us will end up being good or both will end up being evil, which would be really fun.
I think that could be cool.
That'd be cool. So yeah, big grain, boulder of salt, who knows? But it should be, the main thing is it's going to be fun, and it's going to be excellent fun. I am insanely excited to get this started. As you say, it's the culmination of about 18 months, 2 years work. On and off.
Well, I'd say it's probably about 10 months of planning and 8 months of 10 months of planning and buying things.
Yes. That part was the easy part, setting and buying, depending on how expensive they were. But as with all things, forcing
quite
ourselves...
quite a lot of looking through eBay to find various versions of the Fellowship.
Yeah, you've been very good on the eBay hunting. How many hobbits do you think you have in total?
I think I've got like the 6 versions of Frodo. The only one, I think it's 6. The one I'm looking out for is the Hobbits at the Fog on the Barrow Downs box set,
okay.
Which is when they're just wearing little robes and lying on the ground. And I think that would complete it. Other than also haven't bought the End of All Things Frodo and Sam yet.
Yes, we're a little while away from there though. So.
We're a little while away from that. It felt a bit presumptive to...
There can be a reward for when we get closer. Yeah, so that's that. We hope to film in kind of chunks. We're quite close together in real life, so hopefully we can sort of just culminate, film, do it in chunks, film 2 or 3 missions at a time, edit together, publish. So I think by the time this video goes out live, we should probably, I think if the planning goes correct, we'll have 8 or 9 videos in the bag, done or recorded. So there's a good stretch of videos that are going to come. It's not like we're going to get to mission 3 and then get bored or stop. So that's our plan to do that. We're going to change over a rest point. I think that's pretty much it. I'm just really eager to play now. After all of this, it's been a lot of work and a lot of fun. In terms of, again, we're recording this a while ago when you'll have seen it. We're hoping to go to a few events. We're by no means matched play players. We're not that, medium, I would say. I'm okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we went to our first event, first Middle-earth event for a very long time last year.
Last July, that's true. The doubles event at Warhammer World.
Doubles event. There. We did not terribly.
We came in the bottom half of things, but it was very close, and we had a lot of fun. And everyone we met pretty much was really nice. I think that's mostly it. That's probably waffled on for long enough. If you're still watching, well done.
And we will edit this down.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll work on that. Other than that, I think watch out very soon. I'm not sure if it will be alongside or days after, but mission number 1, Farmer Maggot's Crop, will be up very, very soon. And we will be doing some match play games and some other narrative event games that aren't Quest of the Ringbearer. So we're doing lots of battle reports, but we're going to try and do a few sort of a bit more match play, competitive style as well. So keep an eye out for them. It would be a huge help if you would subscribe, crucially. Leave a comment if there's something you'd like to see more of, or just something you want to look forward to.
Take predictions for campaign Fall of the Took.
Yes, Who's going to be the first? Who's going to be the biggest Fall of the Took? We have the regular fellowship, so is it going to be old Pippin, or is it going to redeem his family name, or is it going to be,
Will it be Gandalf?
Gandalf? Yes, doesn't he have one attack?
It doesn't do much really.
Who knows? I mean, obviously it's Bill the Pony, his bravest companion, obviously.
Naturally. And then Gimli.
Yeah, we have favourites, as you can tell. I think that's about it. So thank you very much if you did watch all of this.
We'll leave you with some nice footage of what we've got here.
Yep.
A little bit to see. This is a taste.
A taste of what's to come.
Of what's to come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the very next video.